Good day, colleagues. Can we start with our meeting?
Yes, we are here.
Okay. I'm just checking list of participants just to check if all the plenary speakers are here. The panelists.
Yes, Lekala, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Prof. is here, and I see Dr. Basetsana.
Yes, I'm in. Thank you.
Okay. Grace Magagula Gladys, is she? Yeah, she's in.
Yep, I'm here.
Mahlatsi, I'm not sure if Mahlatsi has joined already. Two of our speakers are not going to join us, and we have asked Professor Diale from University of Pretoria to be one of our panelists. Can we allow her to participate as well?
Yeah, today we're using just a meeting. It's not a webinar. It doesn't separate. We don't have attendees and panelists.
Oh, okay.
But it's on the same platform. So.
All right. No
slot for we didn't get a slot for webinar, so we're using the meeting.
Oh, we were not informed, but it's fine.
Yes.
We can start. I'm not sure if Dr. Sobani, I can't see her name here.
Yeah, she has joined.
She has joined.
Yes, Dr. Sobani, I'm here.
Okay.
Yes.
So you'll control the slides from your side, because
yes,
I had issues with my computer.
I don't really have slides because I'm supposed to do the
Q&A, but can we have a program, somebody displaying the program, either Mahlatsi or Ndadesem?
Butmos?
Yes, Kunuso.
Do you have the program?
Yeah, I'll have to go and look for it. Let me just look for it and then.
Okay, while he's still looking at the program, you will share it, Date Musala, after that. Okay.
Yes, I'll do that.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this meeting. I thought maybe we are going to have a platform for the webinar. So the topic for today, we were given a very complicated topic, according to some of us, and it is titled The Importance of Uncertainty in Many Scientific Predictions and the Relevance of this to the Environmental Controversies. So before we get carried along, let me introduce myself. I hope you can now see my face. Can you see my face?
Not yet, Doc.
Not yet.
But I've activated my video. I don't know what might be the problem.
Okay, let me check here. Let me make you a co-host so that it can allow you. Can you try to send again?
Okay.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah. Can you see me now?
Now we can see you now.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that you don't think I'm a robot. I'm Dr. Malebutibane. Thank you for that. I'm not sure if I will be able to present with the video on. Can I humbly request to switch it off because you have seen my face?
Doc, before you proceed, I've given you my rights accidentally. Can you stand on your name and then you go to more?
On my name?
Yeah, actually on my name. And then you make me a host.
Okay.
I accidentally gave you the host rights instead of co-host rights.
More.
Yeah.
And then
you make me host.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Got it.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can I switch off my video or you want to see my face?
Yeah, you can switch it off now. It's fine.
All right. Colleagues and all the participants, welcome to this webinar. As I've indicated, I'm Dr. Malebutibane, but from where I'm coming from, they've taught me to introduce myself in a certain way. So you start by stating your name, your leader, and so on. So I'm Malebu Tibane, and I'm going to be the host for the co-host for this. And I work as a physicist at the University of South Africa, better known as UNISA, under the leadership of Professor Buleng Kabula. So Professor Kabula is the first female principal and vice chancellor of UNISA since its establishment. So we are fortunate to experience such transformation, and we are happy to be part of UNISA. So today's topic, I've contacted a lot of people from water affairs, from environmental affairs, and also the scientists. And many of them told me that when we had discussions, they said this topic is very difficult. But when I'm alone, I had to, this topic actually took me back to my childhood. So when I was a child, somewhere around 8 and 9 years old, my father and I were washing his car. And the car didn't have a petrol, so he had to transfer petrol from a 5 I asked him, Papa, what was causing the petrol to run from the container to the car? Then he looked at me and said, when you grow up, you must do physics. So I had no idea what physics was by then, but I agreed with a smile, of course, which he returned it back with a lovely smile. So today, when we were given this topic, when people were saying this topic is very difficult, I smiled and I said, together with the scientists, together with people from environmental affairs, we are going to tackle this problem. So in this meeting, I'll be working with Dr. Sobane from HSRC, and she will be helping me to handle questions and answers, and she will also help me with coordinating this meeting. And then we appreciate what the institutions have done during the National Science Week. So this meeting is one of the objectives of the projects, a combined project between University of South Africa Human Science Research Council, University of Venda, and also Technology Innovation Agency. So we came together. Our main objective for today's meeting is to create a society that is knowledgeable about science issues. And then hence we have this topic. So what I've learned, I was talking to one of the panelists. I said, I'm praying very hard that I don't take time because I talk like a plenary speaker, but I will try not to take a lot of time. What I've learned is that when I approach the scientists, you can look at the list of the panelists, we have scientists. What I've learned from them is that you can do everything, or advice that I can give you is that if you want to deal with a scientist, you must ask them or you must challenge them about complex problems, about complex issues. So I went to them with the complex question, and how they responded, I like how they responded, because if you tell a scientist that I think you cannot solve this problem, you are challenging the scientist. The scientist is not going to sleep at night. The scientist will try to figure out the problem that you have presented to him or her. So some of them, they woke me up at night and they said, Dr. Tibani, we were able to solve the problem that you have given us. So on that same note, I'm going to introduce our speakers. Initially, we had Professor Lekala, and then Dr. Nzime, Basisana Nzime, Dr. Gumbi. Then we had Professor Rampo and Professor Dube. Unfortunately, Professor Rampo and Professor Dube are engaged in other meetings, and also a colleague from HSRC, Dr. Lunga, is also engaged, but he's going to, his presentation is going to be handled by our colleague from HSRC, Bongani Chavalala. And we also have Gladys Magagula, Gladys Magagula from SANSA. And lastly, we have Professor Manzai Diale from University of Pretoria. So I'm not going, they have beautiful bios, but I'm not going to read the bios. I'll just give the title of their job title, and because I'm going to give them 10 minutes, they will be able to engage with us. And participants, I forgot to mention that we request to mute your microphones and also your video so that we don't have any distractions. So our first speaker is Professor Mandile Lekala, and Professor Lekala is from the School of Science at UNISA under College of Science, Engineering and Technology. And one thing about Professor Lekala is that he's a very peaceful man. And when I was looking at him, I said maybe he was encouraged, or maybe his community played role in his character. Because when you go to Professor Lekala's village, they will greet you and say Khotso, and when you reply, you must say Ayateng. So they preach peace wherever they are. Professor Lekala, over to you. Thank you.
Professor Lekala, we can see.
Hello.
Yes, we can see your screen.
You can see my screen?
Yes, if you can try to. Oh, now maybe we should rename you because it says you are Dr. Diwani. Yeah, so.
Can you see me as well?
Yes, we can see you as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Diwani, for the warm introduction. And let me thank the attendees in general, and also acknowledge the sponsors that you see on top of the first slide there. It is an honor indeed for me to share this platform with you colleagues on this complicated topic, as Dr. Diwani has mentioned. When she requested me to come and present this topic, I had to scratch my head several times and call her, as she mentioned, to find out exactly where we're trying to go about this. But I think in the course of that, I managed to come with something that addresses the topic from the point of view that I'm a scientist, and I thought in order to address the topic, and that is my first slide, which you see there giving some background, in order to put the audience, for lack of better words, it is that I need to give the background that as a scientist, we are persuaded only by data, because science is an empirical subject. And of course, if you unpack that topic, it means that ultimately you have to advise the policymakers based on what you know from the empirical evidence. And therefore you have to have the method that is valid to start with, which produce the results which are reliable, and to support the issues that you are trying to address. And therefore the policies can be made based on a sound science. And that reliable results, what does it mean for an ordinary person in the street, for lack of better words? First, it must be consistent. So what it means is that you will ask the same question to the same person under similar circumstances and produce the same answer. This is the question you have to ask about the method that you are using, if it's valid. The method also have to be precise. And what we mean by that from the scientific point of view is that it must give an indication of the degree of the mutual agreement among a series of individual measurements. So I can make a lot of measurements, and if this method is a valid method, it means there has to be an agreement. And finally, it should be repeatable. If you have a variation of measurements taken by the same observer on the same item under the same conditions, we should be able to reproduce that. That's what science says to us. And therefore, if we follow this empirical approach, we have these scientific methods, it means that we can make the decisions that we can reproduce. Later on, I'll talk about of course, on the surface about the examples where this thing can be understood, but in the context of the current pandemics, for example, you need a method that will be valid, whether you're talking about a Gauteng province or you're talking about the KZN province, so that when you make predictions about maybe the spread of the COVID, you have a method that is valid. So you have a good instrument that is consistent, it has precision, and is repeatable. And all this slide, what it's saying here is to give you the background about that. So what it means now, if you zoom very closely about this reliable results we're talking about, it means we have to have a means in which we can quantify things. And I think it's very critical to look at this slide very carefully. On the left-hand side, you have a method where you are hitting, but you are hitting the wrong place. That method will reproduce your results. It's precise, but it's targeting the wrong thing. And you don't want that. That method is not valid. But if the method is valid and it's reliable, then the uncertainty that is there will always be uncertainty in the sciences, and the limitation for that, I will discuss in a moment, is that you focus, if the method is focused, your method is repeatable, it produces the result with great precision. And that's what you see on the right-hand side picture of yourself. So, but to go on, let me try to make you to understand the roadmap that we use as scientists and in the method that we call analytic method. In other words, all these methods that we're talking about in order to address environmental issues are based on some mathematical modeling, which is an analytic model, but we have to apply it correctly, as I just mentioned a short while ago. And the process, if you want to understand the whole thing, is that you have the method that is well understood. It undergoes the process. I mean, you undergo the process by doing the modeling, and then you produce a result, but that result has to be fit for purpose. And if it's fit for purpose, the evidence will be able to show that this model is indeed the correct model. So we have to understand it from that point of view when we first, I mean, if you want to address real issues in the real world. Having said that, let me just put or expand a little bit on this method and the validation of the method. So if validation is just a process that provides the evidence that is given by the analytical method when it's correctly applied. And that is the key word, that it has to be correctly applied. If you have an instrument that is good, but you apply it incorrectly, obviously the result that you produce will not be fit for purpose. But now if it's fit for purpose, then, I mean, if you apply it correctly, then it produces the result that are fit for purpose. That is the method, that is the validation of the method. But there can be different methods for similar things. For example, the other people can use this instrument and produce the results. The other group can use a different method, but if everything in terms of a fit for purpose is well done, the scientific method, whatever different method you have, will produce the same results. Let me just give an example. If you want to calculate the spread of the COVID, and I use this example because it's the current thing that occupies people's mind, you can use machine learning and do your calculations, and then you produce the same result. Someone else can use CFDs and put the same constraints, which is the boundary conditions, and then will come with the same thing. So the method provision is tested, comparisons are made, adherence to the physical laws is made, and then you compare with the standard values just to check that the method is doing what it's supposed to be doing. But more importantly also, there are standards that you have to adhere to. And those in the realm of the environment, the different standards come from ISO, for example, which validates what you are doing. So the evidence, it means the results for which you are doing something agree within some uncertainty with what is expected. So again, the method is fit for purpose. The key now with this slide is the uncertainty. Where does uncertainty come from? It will be very, let's say, ideal if you have a method, you have the equipment that can measure, and this equipment, it's 100% accurate. And there is no such thing, unfortunately, in the real world. So then we have to have a way in which we know how to handle these uncertainties in order to give a support for sound policy making. If you come with a method that you say there is no uncertainty, let me tell you straight away, the scientists will not believe in that. Maybe the politicians can believe in that, but the scientists will not do that. And of course, if it's based on science, the uncertainty will be there all the time. Whether those uncertainties are from systematics or from the random measurements, you have to be taken into consideration. So this, as I just mentioned, that the process that we follow has to be guided by some standards. And I just put 3 of them, the ISO, the Eurochem, the Eurolab, for example. And then you have to do, in following these protocols, so to speak, then you have to specify what you are doing, identify the source of the problem, and then try to quantify them somehow. So you give the numbers and you give them. So the point is measuring these uncertainties. It's very key in validating your method. Let me just go to bullet number 2 on this slide, just to sort of give the physics behind the uncertainties. If you see that equation in a black box there, or what it means is that it's the so-called uncertainty principle. It means you cannot measure the same quantity, let's say to the length delta x, with the same accuracy as the momentum less than h bar over 2 h bar, which means the Planck's constant. All what it means is that to a layman, that the instrument that you have, it's limited to some extent, and that's where the source of the uncertainty comes from. And as I say, the better the instrument, the better that number becomes. Now, you have many, as we, the topic alluded to, in our world, there are many cases where the uncertainties arise. In the context of mathematics and the physics, it's what I have given you in bullet 2. In reality, you see deforestation, you see floods, you see the cosmic rays coming in, all sorts of things that in a dynamic world produces this uncertainty, which is not a trivial thing to do. If you can imagine now, there are a lot of fires in Turkey. Should we have a method that will be able to assist the humanity in order to address issues such as that? That is the climate change. You have in the middle picture there, the flooding, which is happening all over in these days, fortunately not yet in South Africa, but those things have the uncertainty that needs to be understood so that you can address them. And when I say we address them, I mean the policy makers, they can make the right policies so that they can be addressed scientifically. And going more into this, we say now we have to communicate this uncertainty, because it's very important if you have to make, for example, a policy decision to say, here is the data. This data tells you that you can measure or you can predict up to this much. And therefore, we have to handle this uncertainty much better and be able to communicate it in order to engage the policymakers. So the point of I just made is the climate policy case where we need to educate our policymakers so that they make the right decisions, such as limiting the pollutions, such as trying to put the people at the right places, such as using the correct, let's say, fuel, so that we mitigate against the conditions that call all the disasters that you see at the bottom of my slide here. So, but it's not a trivial issue to handle, because the numbers that we're talking about, which brings the data now, they are very large numbers. And I just wanted to bring this very close to UNISA, which pays my salary every month, to say, as much as I've given you a little bit of quantum mechanics in that uncertainty principle, this work which is applied in very sophisticated environments, such as the Large Hadron Collider, where Dr. Pedro Mafa, who is working at UNISA at the moment, is doing. Those complicated so-called blue sky science can be adapted and applied to real life. And one of the examples that I am giving in this slide is the application of the continuum fluid dynamics, where we studied the model, or we modeled the spread of the COVID in a real situation. And the real situation here we're talking about is the Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital, where using the continuous fluid dynamics, and we studied the droplets transmission and airborne transmission for the COVID and tuberculosis, we're able to come with, let's say, realistic clinical environment that speaks to the real problem we have. And that problem, of course, the work in that case, let me just put a disclaimer, it's not yet published, so there's very little that I will give here, but we are working to finalize that. But the research itself, again, is looking at the environment that is real to us, but it has certain uncertainties. And uncertainty here, I use it with dual meaning. Is the uncertainty in the getting the work, but it's uncertainty in the limitation of the science because of the instrument that we use. So we are extending this model to a phenomenological medical parameter so we can study infectious diseases and how they move, how they affect people, depending on the environment, whether it's physical or chemical, and then we put in medical parameters there. So this is the key message of my presentation to you colleagues, to say, as much as the world is very complicated, as much as the challenges that humanity faces are very complicated, as much as the measurements that we do inherently have the uncertainty, it's only science that can assist us in trying to find the solutions that work for the betterment of humanity. So what is to be done? I mentioned it to you that you have a correct mathematical model, but going forward, what do we need to do? Of course, in the context of the current topic, we need to reduce this uncertainty, number one. The second is to increase the sustainability. Now, this becomes much, much of a bigger problem because we now receive a large amount of data, as I have mentioned. And also, there is a diverse data of input. So what affects, for example, the current spread of the COVID might, it started with one variant, but at the moment you have different variants, and we know very for certain that there are going to be some other mutations. Therefore, this is a different data is keep on increasing. And how do we, what do we do? So we have to constantly review and improve our methods and our model, but more importantly, we need the infrastructure. When I say the infrastructure, here in the context of what I presented, you need to have large or huge computer memory so that you can do the calculations to as accurately as possible. Myself, maybe Dr. Diwane, and the other colleagues present in here, alone, we cannot do it. We need a lot of people with the necessary skills to assist in this. In other words, we need a scientific community that is literate in the sciences throughout all the layers of the society, from the person who is working in the factory to a person who is working at the university. We need to harness these skills, and these skills, I think those who care to read the National Development Plan will understand that it is very critical for the country to produce a large number of master and doctoral students so that we develop the skills. There's a skills shortage in the country, colleagues, and that need to be addressed, and can be addressed through the sciences that I have just alluded to you. Now, that brings me to the end on something that I think we need to engage on when we deal with these issues. And one is deep thinking as opposed to deep learning. What do we do between the two, or is one against the other, or both? I'm going to leave it with that. This is a question for the debate going forward. I'm not going to answer it now, but maybe we can answer that later on in our discussion if we have any question. But it's very critical question because it tells us how we are going to approach this issue of reducing the uncertainties in the discourse of doing the scientific methods in a way that with the resources that you have, you can still come with meaningful results fit for purpose. You need deep thinking or you just need deep learning. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I pause here. Can I stop sharing?
Thank you, Professor Lekala, for an informative presentation. You have taught us so many things, the importance of Heisenberg uncertainty principles, and also the beautiful work, fluid dynamics at Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital, and you also highlighted how we as scientists can influence the climate change policymakers. Thank you very much. Can we clap hands for Professor Lekala?
Yeah, I guess I can put my video down now, yeah?
Yes, you can put it down. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you.
Dr. Sobani, can you assist me in maintaining time, please? So our next speaker is Dr. Vasitsana Nzime. Dr. Vasitsana Nzime is chairperson of UNISA WISE, that is Women in Science, Engineering and Technology. And she works in the Department of Mathematical Sciences. So her presentation will explain everything about what she is doing at UNISA. Thank you very much. Over to you, Doc. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tibane, and thank you very much, colleagues and the entire audiences. I'm just wondering if you can see my slide. Let me confirm before.
Yes, we can see your slide.
You can see it. Okay, thank you. Is it visible enough? Okay. Right, thank you so much.
It is visible. You can click a slide show so that we are able to see your slide perfectly.
Okay, thank you. A moment, please.
Okay, Dr. Nzime, just press the slideshow there. Just double click on there.
The thing is, I can't
the
see.
bottom where you were. Yes, there.
This one.
Double click there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now this, I see something different.
Okay.
Okay, let me stop sharing and then start again. And then I think I got it. Can you see my slide?
Just click once.
Right.
Yes.
Perfect.
Correct.
Yes. Again, thank you, Dr. Tibane, for the opportunity, and also thank you very much, the colleagues and the audience, for your time. As introduced, my name is Dr. Vasitsana Nzime from the Department of Mathematical Sciences under the leadership of Professor Khumalo and the deanery, Professor Mamba. I am here to present to you the matters that affects women through the topic, oh my goodness, the role of women in scientific predictions and environmental issues. Unfortunately, I can't see other wording, so I have to stop the full screen. I'm here to represent UNISA CSET, Women in Science, Engineering and Technology, the forum that I initiated last year in 2020. And I was supported by a sister colleague, Dr. Moremedi, and also the COD, Professor Kumalo, and the directorate and the deanery under the leadership of Professor Mamba. Some of our members, you can see them, the beautiful faces there, and in no particular order, and I'm not going to mention their names, there are so many of us, and also there goes other beautiful faces. And our forum is highly organized. We have a committee that ensures that the forum runs smoothly. And we believe, our main belief is, if you educate a woman, you educate the next generation. And of course, you educate the entire community globally. We aim at encouraging young females to prosper in the field of science and engineering and to create network opportunities for these women and also provide mentorship and ultimately increase the pool of the doctoral holders as women. We have challenges. The challenge is, are we as women represented enough or representing others enough in scientific predictions? And the answer is no, because we are actually underrepresented in STEM. We have low number of women in research and development. We have fewer female research team leaders, and therefore it leads to our low research output, and definitely, again, low publications, scientific predictions and uncertainties, less participation in environmental issues. And then again, the question now is, why do we have to be involved? We need to be involved because we are underrepresented. 40.4% representation in general population are women, and are male actually, versus 16.1% representation at universities as females. And then we women believe that we are role players. We are actually major role players. We can participate in changing the environment and also changing the way things are doing. We believe that as caregivers, we are actually primary caregivers. We actually care for the community. And now the fact that we are less represented in terms of doctoral degrees and leadership position, and also being previously excluded, we would appreciate to be given opportunities to access resources so that we can alleviate poverty and inequality. And also we noted that we are underrepresented also in terms of gender pay gap. More males are still paid more than us female in certain sectors. And also, again, the gender disparity is noted. So we would appreciate that the society recognizes us as women. The other question is, in a sector like the climate change, are we represented enough? Does the climate change impact more on women than female? Currently, globally, we are experiencing the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. And now the question is this pandemic affecting women more than men? And the answer is yes, because lockdown measures and also the social distancing, they contribute a lot to domestic violence, because the young girls now, they sit at home and they're expected now to do the family chores instead of studying. And then the lockdown again and social distancing, they impact on the mental health, and therefore women get anxious in doing their responsibilities. And also, again, it does definitely impact on the girls and the young female at home. And also, the economic stress has an impact in the livelihood of young women and girls at home, because you find that the parents experiences the salary cut, and obviously they will think of doing some other things to ensure that there's bread and butter on the table. And that is not what we want. We want that to be taken care of. Now, what do we plan? As she said, women in science and engineering technology, we want to be role models. We want to provide mentorship. We want to incite the girls and women to pursue career in STEM. We want to ensure that more women are registered, they take undergraduate, they actually obtain their degrees, and also postgraduate studies. They don't stop at bachelor's, but then they also continue to do the doctoral and postdoctoral program, so that again, we can increase the pool of women in leadership. Now, how can we achieve all this? We can achieve all this through partnering with other institutions and also women in other organizations such as Women in Astro, Atmospheric Sciences, the climate issues and geosciences, and also working together with the women in the UNISA Women Forum, Association of Women in Science and Engineering Technology, the Mathematically Gifted and Black Association that talks to me because I'm a mathematician, and also participating in opportunities such as events like the National Science Week. And then we make our invisibility visible. We make sure that we represent women and especially the young girls. Against all odds, in actual fact, notwithstanding the commendable progress, there's a lot of progress made. Especially, we can note, as Dr. Tibani mentioned earlier, that our council, the UNISA Council, appointed the female Black woman as a vice chancellor. That needs to be commended, and that implicates the progress that has been done. As UNISA-wise also, we wish to heed the call by the National Development Plan to increase the academic staff at universities holding doctorates, especially African women. And this can only be achieved through research and supervision. So we would appreciate women to be given also opportunities to supervise so that they can be role models to other young female. At the same time, we as women, we are not only saying we are underrepresented, but we are noting opportunities that are made available for us. For example, the funding opportunities that we received from the Directorate, Professor Lekala, and the CSET Deanery, so that we as CSET Women in Science, we perform our responsibilities or our wishes and aims and objectives must be achieved. And we also recognize that the UNISA CSET research offers funding opportunities for women, even though we have to apply, everything we have to apply, nothing is for free. And again, we acknowledge the current role of the laptops. We really appreciate, because we are going to get quality laptops, and then so that we perform our duties to our utmost. Against all odds, against all these challenges that we are facing, we recognize the achievements that women, especially in CSET, have obtained. Recently, we have a newly rated NRF Y2 rated researcher, Dr. Mbule from the Department of Physics, and also we recognize Dr. Feleni for obtaining a funding or a scholarship grant of 500,000 from NRF SASTA. And then we are saying to them, young as you are, we believe that you will definitely be the role models to the young girls that will be joining UNISA, or maybe to the entire world. I would now acknowledge the funders, DSI, SASTA, HSRC, and others, Univel, and also there's the SOS and the CSET, and finally our University of South Africa. And maybe at this point I can pause and say, I don't think it would be proper for me to end my presentation by not acknowledging and appreciating the fact that the council, our council of the University of South Africa, appointed a female Black woman as the Vice Chancellor and Principal, Professor Pule Lenkabula, and we believe that under her leadership, we as women will be fully supported, and we are going to be role models as we wish, and again, take our caring part to the next level. At this point, I would like to thank you all for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc, for bringing up crucial and difficult issues related to the role of women in scientific prediction, climate change, and for also sharing with us the good work you are doing at UNISA and also your achievements. Thank you very much. To the participants, you are free to write your question in the chat. Then Dr. Sobani will deal with them at the end of this. Because of time, we are moving. Thank you very much, Dr. Basetsana. We are moving on. Next presentation will be given by Ms. Gladys Makakula. She is currently holding the position of project manager for SANTA Space Operations, and she's responsible mainly for ground station establishment projects. Over to you, Makakula. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good day, colleagues. And yeah, let me share my screen, see how I can attack this very complicated or complex topic. Do you see my screen, right?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. I guess it's now on presentation mode.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, this topic, it's got me reading day and night, like Malebu said, when she started that, I mean, there's nothing that you give to a scientist that they can't do. So we go and get lost in the internet. So basically with myself working for the space agency, I tried to look at this topic in relation to the sector that I'm in. So yes, it is the importance of uncertainty in many scientific predictions and the relevance of these two environmental controversies. So I take it to the space sector, looking at space situational awareness. I didn't put a slide to introduce myself, but briefly, as Malebu said, I'm Gladys Makakula, working at this South African National Space Agency Space Operations Directorate based in Hartbeespoort. The station was basically just briefly started by NASA way back in the late 50s when they were starting the space race with the Russians. So yeah, the station was then NASA left and then taken over by the country, and we still have some of the very old infrastructure, which right now there are some of the things that there's lots of uncertainties when it comes to how they work, because there are computers, for instance, that we are afraid now to switch off because you don't know if you switch off, will it come back on or not? Anyway, so I checked with Malebu, and then the audience that was given was trying to be tried to be as accommodative as possible. So I hope I'm not going too basic. So basically I started with the definition of uncertainty. What is uncertainty? So basically it refers to the lack of knowledge or understanding of the structure of risk and connections between the stages of risk. So, and it can arise from various sources, be it data inadequacies, lack of understanding, and so on and so forth. So uncertainties can then be classified into two distinct categories, which is aleatory and epistemic. Aleatory being the one where we are uncertain of how that system is going to behave. And epistemic, on the other hand, is basically related to lack of knowledge about that system. I mean, with us being busy with space systems, you are like, you wonder what happens up there in space, and you never know. So looking at space situational awareness, it means different things to different people depending on where you are and what you are looking at. But in the broader sense, it talks to the knowledge of our near space environment, which includes both natural and man-made components. I took it to this because with us at the space agency, unlike our astronomy counterparts, we basically are playing in the near space environment, which is basically closer to our planet. So according to the United States Strategic Command, which basically have the largest space surveillance and tracking assets in the planet, they define space situational awareness as the requisite current and predictive knowledge of space events, threats, activities, conditions, and space system. And then the status, constraints, and employment of the current and future friendly and hostile to enable commanders and decision makers, particularly planners and operators, to gain and maintain space superiority across the spectrum of conflict. So because, I mean, nowadays, it's not just about sending satellites to space, not only nowadays, but even previously with the likes of NASA. If you don't understand that environment in space, you are likely to endanger people's lives. And then looking at uncertainties affecting the space missions, on the epistemic side, looking at uncertainties in the spacecraft state estimate, the gravity models. I mean, most of the time you hear people saying there's no gravity in space, but there is a little bit here and there. So we need to understand all that. Dead body effects, solar radiation, pressure, and then the drag coefficient in the low Earth orbit. On the aleatory side of things, we are looking at the natural variability that exists in the space system. I mean, atmospheric properties of the Earth. I mean, with satellites, sometimes we send them in far, far planets. The properties on those planets as the spacecraft traverses through, those are some of the factors that can introduce uncertainties and can cause a mission to fail. Why space situational awareness? I mean, these days, not long ago, I think it was 2 weeks back, we watched on the TV where the president of Blue Origin, was it Blue Origin? The Bezos guy went into space and stuff like that. So with the advancement in launch technology and increased demand for space applications, I mean, today we are so reliant on some of these space applications, we don't even realize it. The number of payloads that are going to orbit are increasing. And not only are those that are man-made, but also looking at other components like asteroids and stuff like that. So there's lots and lots and lots happening out there. So space situational awareness data is critical then for safe piloting of satellites or spacecraft through this ever-growing field of orbital debris. This is more so because I'm looking at a country like us, South Africa. At the moment, we, other than the CubeSats from CPUT, we have very little assets in space. And that, amongst other things, is due to the very high cost of space infrastructure. I mean, we build a satellite and it doesn't even get to orbit and it fails. It looks at the money that would have been wasted there. So it is necessary to reliably estimate the future states of, I'm sorry, I didn't put out this acronym, is resident space objects, basically all the objects orbiting, with the aim of optimal coordination and accommodation of future space traffic management systems. So we need to basically have a clear picture of the environment around our space assets and be able to detect any change or potential threat. So why then do we have to study uncertainty in the space situational awareness? It aids in decision-making, which improves the odds of success for Earth and space missions. So it helps, I mean, with decision makers to properly account for uncertainty in risk parameters. I'll make an example with the NASA's Challenger spacecraft that exploded, I think it was in 1986, where at the heart of it, it was the uncertainty about the risk of that the O-rings, which are the rubber seals on the Challenger's fuel tank, how it was gonna behave when in space. I mean, they knew about the degradation of the ring itself, but they didn't know about the relationship with the temperature in space and that degradation, which basically led to death of those astronauts that were in that. So with proper uncertainty, like I think it's the first speaker talked about how we need to be able to then gather a lot of data to be able to then optimize our systems to minimize uncertainty. So in concluding, I'll say scientific information is only but one of the considerations for decision makers who are also concerned about other factors. It could be economic, cultural, political, and environmental problems, which when they all come together, there are uncertainties. I mean, the speaker did refer to the current situation that we are facing of the pandemic, where 1 minute we try to save people by doing lockdowns, and we are then endangering livelihoods and so on and so forth. So uncertainty, basically, it's handled better when scientists engage with the policymakers. So these people should, the policymakers, be it politicians and all, should not ignore the work that scientists do. So how the uncertainty is handled is central to the support of sound decision and policymaking. So because it's also imperative on us scientists to not only study this uncertainty, but to also communicate it properly to the policymakers, as this will then change the impact that is achieved. And then also the decision makers should properly account for this, for the uncertainties surrounding risks as they make decisions. I thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you, Gladys Magagula. Thank you for a very interesting topic about uncertainties affecting space and a need to detect any change in potential threat. And what I gathered from your presentation and Prof. Lekala's presentation, so from viewpoint of a hard scientist and also space scientist, it is important to know the uncertainties because they help us, or they can influence the decision making or the decision makers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Then the questions will be handled after everybody have spoken later on.
Okay.
Thank you.
What happened, Malebo?
We can still hear you, Dr. Tibane.
Can't hear.
No, we can still hear you.
Okay. Dr. Lunga, it is somebody from HSRC, and Prof. Diale, you'll come after the speaker from HSRC. I think it's Bongani Chavalala from HSRC.
All right.
Yes, okay.
Thank you.
All right. I'm Bongani Chavalala. Dr. Lunga is a little bit occupied, and he did a recording for his presentation. So what I'll just do is I'll share the screen with you and share his email address for any questions that you can email him. Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to share, to find the screen and share it. Just bear with me.
Okay, are you coming all right, Bongani?
Yeah, for some reason it was, I kept it as a main screen on the background.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, but you can first share and then you go and select your document.
Colleagues, I think you can come after the next speaker. Just
no
to
problem.
figure out how to.
No problem.
Yes.
No problem.
Dr. Gumbi, are you ready?
Colleagues, as we are waiting for Dr. Gumbi, can I appeal to the presenters? I've put up a message there for all of us. If you happen to see my hand up, it means that it's 3 minutes that's left and you're supposed to wrap up so that you don't run behind time. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, how long is one presentation? Because it's no more 10 minutes, it's far more than 10 minutes.
I'm doing 10 minutes. The first
Dr. Soban is doing 10 minutes.
Yes.
National science, and my topic is one important.
It's like Dr. Gumbi, I'm not sure, I don't see her. Prof. Diale.
Let me do it and
yeah, you can do yours for 10 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah,
Professor Diale is from the University of Pretoria. I think she will talk about a lot of things. Thank you very much.
Okay, let me see this. I've shared my screen. Let me go to presentation mode. I have to remove this. Okay, good. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. My name is Manzai. I come from the University of Pretoria. I'm a physicist. I'll just speak on uncertainty around so many things because, you know, it's so many things that we're working on. I'm working on, I'm a device scientist. I'm working on renewable energy, defense, where we do UV detectors. And I do a lot of women in physics in particular because of the issues that are related to women in physics throughout the world. Okay. I just want to start with the uncertainty of the coronavirus because, you know, there's so much languages that are going around there, so many frustrations and so many stories about what will the vaccine do? And people are very confused about this coronavirus. Let me say, let me start with the history of recent advances in coronavirus discovery. So according to the Pediatric Infectious Disease Journal of November 2005, volume 24, issue number 11, on those pages, you can follow it on the DIO number there. The coronavirus was first found around 1960s, in particular 1965, they found this B814, and then there was also a Hamri's virus, where Hamri is one of the authors there. And, you know, labs will play around with anything, and they played around with the viruses, and they came up with one they called 229E. All of these are respiratory diseases. So after that, they came the other human coronaviruses, as you see, the SARS in 2003, and the one in Netherlands called NL63 in 2004, another one in Netherlands 2004, 2005, the Hong Kong one in 2005. All of this did kill some people, but not as bad as the one that is coming now. Then, so when you look at scientific predictions that brings uncertainty is that with this particular coronavirus, it's like it's killing too many people and it's being recorded throughout the world. So people are very uncertain about the future as this pandemic is going all over. This coronavirus that we see now, I call it the new kid on the block, is still a respiratory disease called COVID-19 because it was first discovered in 2019. I remember I was coming from the US in 2019, December. We have interacted with people from everywhere. Then that's when you see that there's some grace that will take care of you. And I went to Tanzania and we interacted. And then in February 2020, it was said that there is this monster called coronavirus. So all of us must be aware and help others to make responsible choices about the coronavirus, being aware that this thing has been there for a long time. Because it's a virus, it can change its way of behaving in any environment, like in the human body. It changes and it reports completely different from any human body. So if people who are scientists want to discuss the coronavirus issue, I would prefer that people use the scientific journals than using the social media or the newspaper. Not long ago, a certain Dr. Emmanuel Taban, who is a pulmonologist, publishes a story in the Citizen that's not scientific. If it is scientific, you take it to a scientific journal, and then the reviewers will interact with what you're writing and deal with the uncertainty that comes with what you think you have discovered. Okay, now from there is also a scientific issue with what we call the energy, food, and water nexus. That is, there is so much uncertainty due to the type of energy that we are using now, the fossil fuels from the oil industry. And then there is food issue You sometimes think the food issue comes from a background where it is because there is no rain, but you don't realize that these two, with water, they are all related. So people's landscapes and ecosystems, we have food, which depend also on demand, supply, and assets that are related to food. Now, the big, energy has always been a commodity that is being sold. Now there are other new wars around water where people start to take water as a commodity and they start selling water at very high prices. But this then affects all the communities, which makes communities uncertain about their future. Recently, maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, there was something that happened to KZN when people were running around, everybody in the media was speaking this negative and that negative without realizing that after some 2 or 3 days, the very people who have done all the looting will need some food, or will need some energy, or will need some water. So all of these are interrelated. And as scientists, we need to address every issue from the scientific point of view with evidence. This brings us to the United Nations Sustainability Goals, where you look at the economies of the world, the society, and the biosphere. So as we use different types of methods to report on scientific issues, in particular here, energy, water, food, and I focusing on energy, is that we can look at the economy and say, as long as I can make money in making sure that people have got energy without even looking at what type of energy are you distributing to the economy and what will be that effect of that type of energy to the society and to the biosphere. So as scientists, let's be responsible in distributing information and making sure that we reduce the uncertainties that are already existing through the social media and the media that we don't really trust, the television, and talking too much about who's owning the media that we are using. So let's focus a little bit on energy. Right now, everybody is using, in general, the fossil fuels, which have a very big impact on the environment. And from the energy point of view, to reach the sustainable development goals and addressing many other issues that I'm going to talk about, which are climate change, we need to use the renewable energy sources like hydro, geothermal, biomass, wind, and solar. And all of this, from the device scientist point of view, for you to have your biomass, from the biomass taken to the grid or the solar energy, which is called free energy from the sun, to take it to the houses, you need to do so many different stages in life of the solar energy, such that you take it safely to the houses so that houses may be able to use it. The very same hydro, at some point, it may be like you have the hydro dam in Egypt, which has caused different wars where people are fighting about the Nile River, as if the Nile River is originating from Ethiopia, whilst we all know that the Nile River is originating from Uganda. But those who will benefit from this are actually the end users, which is Egypt, which complains about the big dam in Ethiopia as if it's going to take all the water. And think about the times when the water can be, the dam can be over full due to a lot of rain. Then you open the sluice, and when you open the sluice, you are actually releasing a lot of water to the communities where you are creating another form of uncertainty. Continue from there, you take the Earth as a spaceship where all of us are together on the spaceship, And we cannot stop the spaceship from moving, but we have to do all the repairs whilst all of us are on board. You look at the picture here about global warming, explaining what global warming is that there is an increase in temperatures in this whole thing called the Earth, which is so round. And when that happened, there is an effect on the ice, the Antarctic, the Arctic circles. Look at the polar bear here, standing on this particular ice. I know that it may be a mimicry, but it will not know what to do because it's not a human being. And then you look at this one here and look at whole plastic world that creates so much uncertainty. And we don't educate the communities about the dangers of throwing plastics everywhere. When we see plastic everywhere, we start by saying, sell the plastic. And after some time we say, let's no more distribute plastic. But every scientific product has its own pros and cons, which will affect the whole community in one way or the other. Because all of us, what we are saying, we're speaking about the preserving life, like we are doing now with the vaccines. What is this thing called climate change? Climate change is the increase in temperatures that has gone above 1.5, and future is saying that it may be very close to 2 degrees Celsius and even more in the near future. And that kind of earth temperature going up results in felt fires like here in Turkey. Look at the shepherds trying to protect the sheep from the felt fires, and the sheep don't even understand. They will be sitting there or sleeping there, and they start being attacked by smoke, and they start running into different directions where they actually running into danger. Look at the farmer here in Turkey who's trying to kill the fires. Who created these fires? It is believed that they actually come from the issues of climate change. So there is also a scientific uncertainty that we scientists have to be careful in how we deal with the environment. Look at what has happened in Italy soon. You know, this is the city of Venice. I've been there. The city of Venice is a city below sea level. And whilst it is the city below sea level, like Louisiana, in Baton Rouge there, you find that if there is lots of rain, this rain is just going to go into the nearby houses. And then in some place there in Italy, there was a landslide, which was a result of heavy rains. And look at how the cars are piled up. And everyone is asking themselves, what is this? If we don't deal with nature in such a way that the nature will be favorable to us, the consequences of that uncertainty are here. But then the ordinary person has not been informed. That's why when we look at the coronavirus, everybody's complaining about the coronavirus and say, why do we have to vaccinate? And there's been a report by the minister, the acting minister, that there were at least about 28 people who died immediately after they getting virus. I mean, getting the vaccine. So all of us are supposed to be together and join these people here who are protesting about the climate change, that Earth needs thinkers and not deniers. And I think physicists in particular, scientists, physicists, we teach people to think, and therefore we want them to use their thinking in such a way that we listen to them and take action as the policymakers in such a way that we protect the environment against the uncertainties. So in energy, what is there that we can do? We can move easily to renewable energy source. And when we start doing this, the oil producing companies, not companies, the oil producing countries get very frustrated. They think There's no more going to be business for them for the oil. You remember last night, everybody was queuing at the petrol stations because the petrol was going to go up, and it's really up, more than 18 rands per liter. That's terrible during this time of the pandemic. So we can reduce the uncertainties in the environment by using hydro or solar or wind or tidal energy or geothermal energy or biomass. And all of this will be able to reduce the harmful green gas effects in the environment and reduce global warming and the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which causes the global warming. There is also another uncertainty. People talk about nanotechnology. Oh, do you know that nanotechnology is going to kill us? Because it is being used in drug delivery here. You can see the nanoparticles here, which are not covered by, some membranes that are not covered by nanoparticles, and you cover them in nanoparticles, and you are able to transport some drugs there. In one of the experiments that I've seen published is that the wound care can be done quickly and better and efficiently with some medicine that has got some nanoparticles in them. And please, it will not kill you. In this other side here, you have silver nanowires. If you can think about silver, silver oxidizes very easily. Therefore, if you use silver in a wet environment, then it is easy for that silver to pick up the contaminants all around there. And therefore, with its oxidizing properties, then it's cleaning the environment. In the case of the wound, it will clean the wound and make the wound to become, to heal quicker. So who knows? Long life, which everybody is looking for, anti-aging medicines like resveratrol, eating so many different things, thinking that you are adding yes to your life. Nanotechnology may be the solution. It is up to us on how to give information to other people so that we are addressing these issues and making sure that uncertainty is reduced. Okay, you remember this. New technologies will always replace old technologies. Many years ago, when I was starting to work in like 1980s, you ask Telkom to come and install a landline in your home, it will take over 3 months. These days, you go to a Vodacom shop, you sign up for the contract, you get the phone immediately, and you go. The post office used to drag their feet.
It's time up.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, cool. Let me summarize. There's, I've been watching for this thing and I didn't see it. There's a telephone, the post box that was replaced by the email. Now you see people destroying the 5G towers, but they never said anything about 3G and 4G. And all of this is due to uncertainty. ESCOM is dragging its feet and not taking care of load shedding. People are solving their own problems with new technologies here. You can see this town with all the solar panels and the solar farm next to that. And then this solar is being used in so many different areas. This is one of the cars that are working on solar energy, batteries. And then I'll not talk about women in physics. Thank you so much, everyone. Life is worth living if we can address these uncertainties in such a way that we are all responsible, even with this pandemic or load shedding or any other thing. Thank you.
Yes, we agree. Thank you very much, Prof. I realize that we really need to sit down beyond National Science Week and we talk about possible partnerships with you and other collaborators. Okay, the recording it's like the recording is ready. I talked with Dr. Bonosang. Because of time limit, there's a session that is starting now, but I will allow her to give us a way forward before we move to the next speaker.
I think my suggestion will be that can we wrap up this session and move on to the next session that is starting, and then the presentations of the other speakers that have not gotten an opportunity can be distributed to the interest group.
Yes.
Dr. Tibani.
I agree.
And they all have contact details so the speakers can be contacted for questions.
Because this partnership is not for today only, even beyond Science Week, we can also collaborate and talk about other matters. Thank you.
So
over to you.
Yes, on that note, colleagues, I'm not going to take long, just to say that from all the presenters that have participated in this webinar, it has been quite clear that the clear message that comes out is that there is a need for effective engagement between scientists and policymakers, and there's a need for us to be credible in whatever we do in terms of science and also engagement of the science that we do, so that we can manage uncertainties, because as Professor Lakala said, uncertainties will always be there, but we need to find effective ways of managing them. And there is a call for action to all of us. There's a call for responsibility from all of us in order to make sure that the science that the scientists are producing gets to the non-scientists and the science users in forms that can inform policy making and in forms that can also inform good decision making. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, with that message in our heads for calls for collaboration, I want to close this session and thank all the speakers for participating in the webinar.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tibani and colleagues. Thank you for inviting me at the short notice.
You are most welcome.
No, it's because Malibu can control. Eh?
And
thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Outside this platform, please.
Okay, good. Thank you. Bye.
Prof. Batsai.
Yes, ma'am. Ponto.
Good is Sophie.
Oh, Sophie.
Univen. Oh, I'm missing you, man.
Ah,
my Lebu.
Bye, my Lebu. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Dr. T.
Can I see your faces, guys? Hi, Dr. Bule.
Hi, Dr. T. Before you go.
Hey, I'm good. Anna, how are you okay?
I'm okay, my dear. Thank you so much. You are so brave.
Thanks, my dearest.
Yeah, I will always love you. Keep on.
Love you too, all of you. Women in science, women in statistics,
women in
science,
power,
Univen. When are we meeting, guys?
Dr. T.
Yes.
The astronomy session. Are we joining again at 2?
I think Mahlatsi or Ntate Mushala can guide us on how to do. We must be back at 2. Was it 2 or half? No, at 2.
Yes.
Yes.
I think
we are back at the same. We're using the same link, Zoom link.
I think somebody's trying to answer. I think it's Ntate Mushala.
Oh, yes, I was saying that Mahlatsi should lead us because she said she's going to send a link that I need to
Okay.
put. But I was keep on checking my emails and in the chat box, nothing yet. So, but I'll so long we're waiting for 2 o'clock.
So the link will be sent to the emails?
No, we're going to join via the same link.
Or the one that we're using now?
Yeah, I'm talking about the link for documentary.
Astronomy session.
For
Yes.
astronomy session at 2.
Yes.
And
Good
are you
question.
also going to download the video and play it for us?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Sure.
Fantastic. Quick question. Mr. Motlal,
Yes,
I was asked to, okay, I'm going to be introducing the video.
Yes.
I will speak for 5 minutes and then ask that it gets started. And it's about 8 minutes or so, right? So in about 15 minutes, we should be finished with what Shamsa call it.
All right. And then you don't have it, Mr. Agundu.
Okay.
If you have it, then you can play it. We can test it now and then check if everything is fine. Then you can play it from your end.
Okay, we could do that, but my problem is that, you see, doing that might introduce Yeah.
Okay. All right.
More D than a T than a T.
More D than the G.
Than a T.
There's no T in your surname.
Oh, okay.
Oh, in D. Nguda.
Yeah.
Nguda, not Nguda.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Not to mention.
Dr. Divan,
How you
did
doing,
you
boss?
manage to download the video? Because I'm getting so many questions here. Questionnaires and or you couldn't download it as well.
I managed to download it via when someone sent me in my email.
Oh, is it?
I don't know how they
So-
sent it, but I managed to open it from my email.
You know, it's
I
asking
forward
me.
it to you.
There is a long questionnaire. I'm trying to fill it, but it's not coming to an end. So
No, it didn't ask me I didn't have the question here, but what's your email
Is it?
address? Maybe I can try to share it with you.
okay.
It's MM.
I'm not winning yet. It takes for a while. So maybe somebody should play it from your end.
Okay. I think. Okay. Here we go. Okay. I can escape because now I'm considering playing. Sorry, I'm trying to play it from
your laptop.
And then stop.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
pause it and then you go share screen with sound.
Come hither. There we go. So, big screen. Okay, so where to do that? Share screen. Sorry. I need to pick. All right. Let's do one down.
It's now 2 minutes past 2. I think the program is about to start.
Sorry. Let's do that. Do approaches. Sorry. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, did you manage to go share screen? When you say
here we go.
You're going to, yeah, you select your document and then you play with sound, then it will play.
I select and I say, do I write?
No, you go on your left-hand side at the bottom where it says share with sound. Yeah, I can see
Okay.
sharing now.
I'm looking for the portion at the bottom that says share with sound.
Oh, yeah, on your left-hand side, right at the bottom.
It says choose side.
Yeah, then you can press, yeah, it's playing.
It says share volume menu. Okay. Oh, let's do this. Play.
Yeah, there we go.
Simon.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
it's fine. We can. Yeah, you got it. So you can just pause and then you stop sharing.
Stop share.
And then you can speak with our meeting now.
So I'll go back to share and then.
Yeah, you just say share screen and then you select that video again, and then you press share with sound, and then it will play.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're now ready. We can start our meeting.
All right. Dr. Mbule, we are at your mercy.
Okay, thank you, colleagues. I'm not sure if everyone is back, or maybe I can't see how many participants are.
Yeah, I think we are 16.
Should be fine. Okay, let me officially start this session. The session is about astronomy.
Recording in progress.
I would like to introduce myself. My name is Ponto Mbule from the physics department at UNISA. So this session is about the astronomy, and welcome back. Firstly, let me thank the program organizers for this program, and also thank the previous speakers for their informative presentations. This week is indeed all about sharing information and communicating science in the best way that we know how. So in this session, we are going to have Dr. Petro Mafa and Dr. Zolile Mguda as our exhibitors. So we're going to have a brief clip about astronomy in UNISA. So they will give you a short introduction about the recorded clip. Over to you. Before you go ahead, we also have Dr. Matebula, who's going to handle the question and answer session, and then she will give a closing remarks. So over to you, Dr. Petro Mafa and Dr. Zolile.
Thank you, colleagues. Good. My name, as already mentioned, is Zolile Mguda, and I would like to acknowledge my people from astronomy, my colleagues Andriy Prozeski and Pedro. To begin, I would like to acknowledge the UNISA Vice Chancellor, Prof. Linkabula, the Vice Principal for Research, Postgraduate Studies, Innovation and Commercialization, Prof. Meiwa, the Executive Dean of CSET and the UNISA Acting CIO, Professor Mamba, the Deputy Dean for CSET, Professor Dube, the Director of the School of Science, Professor Likala, who was with us earlier, the Executive Management of CSET and the School of Science, colleagues from all of UNISA, CSET, as well as from SASTA, HSRC, UP, University of Venda, and all protocols observed. Astronomy at UNISA has got a long history, and the observatory in the Cape of Good Hope was established in the 1820s to serve the British maritime industry. So those pioneering astronomers played a significant role in mapping of the southern skies, and their results are still cited to this day. So that optical observatory is now the site of the SAAO, which is the South African Astronomical Observatory. And in the 1960s, as Dr. Gagula had mentioned, HADRAO was established to assist NASA in monitoring and launching of spacecraft. And in the subsequent years, South Africa has increased its investment in astronomy. And this led to the promulgation of the Astronomy Geographical Advantage Act, and that has given rise to such world-class facilities as SALT, MEERKAT, the Hydrogen Intensity and Real-Time Analysis Experiment HIREX, HERA, and others such as CBES, as well as our participation in the African VLBI network, as well as the Square Kilometer Array. Now, most of these telescopes, barring the HADRAO single dish telescope, most of these are in the Northern Cape province. These are going to need students to go and use and to actually go set up experiments which are going to be world-class and that are going to contribute to the intellectual capacity of South Africa. So an investment in astronomy is an investment in South Africa's young people. And it's an endorsement that South Africa's young people have got the talent to do world-class science. So if young people then take up this mantle, then future generations will be studying laws of nature that are established by these South Africans. And that will go a long way into making real the issue of decolonizing science. So UNISA as an institution has got a long history of giving opportunities for tertiary education to people who may otherwise not have gotten that opportunity. And may that dream live long and prosper. And I would like to thank personally Prof. Linkabula and the UNISA management for starting an astronomy and cosmology flagship. And with that flagship, UNISA will work closer with scientists that are in these facilities that I've already mentioned to actually increase our capacity to train astronomers at UNISA. And I am now going to start with the video. Start with share screen. Film. Go. All right.
There's no sound.
There's no sound. Yeah, sure.
There's no sound?
No. Maybe if you can stop it and then you say you share with sound. You go on your left hand side.
On my left, where there's a speaker, show volume menu.
No.
Can you still see?
No, at the moment, stop sharing.
Stop share?
Yeah,
yes.
Stop share. And then check on your left-hand side. It should be say share with sound.
Okay, here's what the problem is, Meneer.
Yeah.
Currently, I did the stop share business, and then now I'm going to share screen option.
Share screen.
I tapped on that.
Yes, and then you see you again, and then share with sound. There we go.
Just let me know if the sound is.
Yeah, it's okay now. Thank you.
The University of South Africa presents Astronomy at UNISA. Are we alone in the universe? What is space? Can I go to space? Astronomers work to answer these big questions using telescopes and other instruments to study space objects and phenomena. They develop and test theories and perform calculations to increase our understanding of the universe. Welcome to Astronomy at UNISA. UNISA had already started teaching astronomy at undergrad level in 1922. Astronomy is currently offered by the Department of Mathematical Sciences in the School of Science, which is in the College of Science, Engineering and Technology. In 1972, the 9-inch Roynet telescope was installed in a rooftop observatory on the new Theo van Wyk building on Macleneck Ridge. Then in 1992, a new observatory containing a 14-inch computer-controlled Schmidt-Cassegrain reflector was inaugurated. This telescope is a great tool for teaching students how to observe using optical and near-infrared telescopes because the techniques used to operate it are the same as those used in the telescopes in Sutherland and other observatories worldwide.
Our telescope has got the ability to see up to 11th magnitude stars, and that are stars that are 100 times dimmer than what we can see with the naked eye. And this is a combination of the size of the telescope as well as the kind of amount of bright lights that you see around Pretoria. City lights cause light pollution. That's right. I just referred to light as pollution. What you experience in optical astronomy is that darkness is our friend. This is why the best nights to observe are when there's absolutely no moonlight or very little moonlight. We experience this effect every time we're in the rural areas or in the Karoo, and it's an absolutely dark night. When you look up at the stars of the Milky Way, you see them come out and they are bright, they are clear, and they appear more numerous.
Now, why study astronomy in South Africa? Are there jobs for astronomers? South Africa, with its vast spaces, has in recent years become more involved and suitable for astronomy. The bigger the telescope mirror, the less light pollution you prefer. This is why the best optical telescopes in the world are in very remote and dry areas such as Sutherland in the Northern Cape. This is where the South African Astronomical Observatory has built its optical and near-infrared telescopes. More than a dozen telescopes ranging from relatively small automated 14-inch tall up to the Southern African Large Telescope. SALT is a 10-meter class telescope that is the largest such telescope in the Southern Hemisphere. It allows South African astronomers to observe celestial sources that are more than 1 million times fainter than what the eye can see. It is a world-class facility right on our doorstep. The other telescopes also do observations. Some of them require manual operation. There is a lot of research that still needs to be done, and therefore requires students who, upon finishing their training at UNISA, will make use of these marvelous facilities. Then, there are other astronomical facilities like radio telescopes. These are managed by the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory. The investment that the South African government has made in radio astronomy is about 10 times more than the investment made in optical and near-infrared astronomy. Meerkat and Carnarvon in the Northern Cape is the most powerful radio telescope currently available, and will only be surpassed by the Square Kilometre Array when it finally goes online. Meerkat allows us to view extragalactic radio sources at cosmological scales, as well as faint stellar sources that are found within the Milky Way. Other radio astronomy telescopes in the country, such as Paper, Hera, and Hyrax, are used to study hydrogen in the early universe and will not form part of the SKA. What is the future of astronomy at UNISA?
As of July 2021, UNISA is starting a flagship in astronomy. This will allow us to have access to and collaborate with astronomers at the national facilities. And that's a boon for the students because it gives us access to co-supervision as well as the global pool of expertise in both techniques as well as the science involved.
The key science objectives of the SKA focus heavily on cosmology, relativity, and the early universe. UNISA already offers these subjects alongside astronomy. Modern astrophysics has become very computationally intensive. UNISA can take advantage of this opportunity by offering a computational techniques course to students to prepare them to operate in this space. SKA includes other African countries, not just South Africa. The universities of these countries are often undercapacitated with regards to astronomy. UNISA can provide opportunities for students and academics from these countries to strengthen their astronomy capabilities and better utilize the resources the SKA brings to their countries. The global pool of talent in astronomy does not all end up in astronomy. On a global scale, most people who study astronomy go on to apply the skills that they have learned in other fields such as consulting, data science, computer programming, banking, insurance, and other mathematically intensive fields of endeavor. In these astronomy modules, mathematics, physics, and computing are included, which are necessary skills to become a successful astronomer. Careers in the field of astronomy and cosmology deal with perhaps the biggest unknown mankind has dealt with. Beyond Earth's atmosphere is a vast sea of stars and galaxies that we barely understand today. UNISA can open doors to a fulfilling career in astronomy.
Okay. Thank you. Stop share.
Recording in progress.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. And one last bit. I would like to thank a Herculean effort from the colleagues from the UNISA Video and Audio Center, as well as the voiceover artist who's a doctoral student at the Department of Physics, Ms. Nolufundo Sindwa, and assistance from my colleague, Dr. Andrew Prozeski. Thank you. Open for questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mguda, for that amazing video about astronomy. Now I will hand over to Dr. Matebula to handle the question and answer session. Thank you, colleagues.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mbule. Good afternoon, colleagues. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Doc.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the video, Dr. Mguda. Thank you so much. So I will open the floor for questions. Any questions can I see by the show of hands? Because I don't see any question on the chat box. Ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Mbule, can you please assist me if you see hands from your side? Because I don't see any hands.
And also, Moses.
No.
Okay, I don't see hands from my side.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Let's just maybe wait for another 1 or 2 minutes just to see if maybe someone will raise their hands for questions. Otherwise, we'll just proceed. Okay, I guess no questions, Dr. Mguda. No questions for you. Okay, yes, please.
Oh, seeing that we have time, we might as well use it for something. Here is we spoke today about uncertainty, right? How easy or how possible is it to explain uncertainty to somebody who does standard 5, for instance? Shall I say that grade 7? Because I do have I have a feeling that one of the reasons why we understand uncertainty very well is because we deal with it often in our conversations as professionals. But is it possible to develop the language to discuss uncertainty with somebody who is not a professional in science or statistics? Okay, that's my question. Any suggestions?
Can you repeat the last bit of your question?
How is it possible for us people who work with uncertainty as professionals to develop a language that would allow us to impart those concepts to somebody who did not do science at high school, and then to discuss it with people who did science at high school? There is a thing that they do on YouTube where they say, I'm going to explain this concept in 3 ways. How I would explain it to a high school, to a primary school learner, to a high school learner, to an undergraduate, and then to a professional. Because I have a sense that if we were to start by doing that and doing it in our different languages as well as in English and Afrikaans, we might make a contribution in how in future people perceive the concepts that we were discussed today.
Yeah, you're right. I think for us scientists, we have a lack of communication because most of the scientists don't see how to adapt the concept to different audience, such like primary school, because if you want to explain what you showed us in the video, to stakeholder or people from the government who need to take decisions. So things need to be flexible. I think we need just to work on that aspect in order to increase our communication, just skills and adaptability in different just contexts, and to get it just like reaching many people as at different level, even those are indicated people like who are in township or any squad camp, something like that. I think it's something we need just to think about it, how to communicate, especially science.
I hear you, Dr. Mafa. The question is it now that we are thinking about it, which conversations are probably the best ones to have first in terms of, because we are not only discussing science for people who are interested in science, we are trying to discuss the scientific method as a way of approaching your daily issues, yes. i.e. when I argue with someone over, for instance, how long it takes to drive from here to Pretoria, from here to Pretoria, I should have, you kind of, there should be a way. I'm thinking of language as a carrier, not just as a tool for communication, but as a carrier of concepts.
Yeah.
So would it be possible for this, maybe this group of professionals to come up with a preliminary list of issues that may possibly be beneficial to explain to somebody who's in primary school, for instance?
I think the approach should be something where you, because remember, people come to understand.
Yeah, recognize Malim. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, Pedro. Yeah, sorry, Pedro. I just wanted to, I was just saying that Malebu will be after you, and then Andre.
So what I was trying to say is that, you see, sometimes whatever we do, we don't really link what we do to the real society. So does not say there's no link, but there's a link. But sometimes we just don't get opportunity to emphasize the link between. For instance, yeah, I always just tell students, so like those are starting the university, when we're talking about the integral and derivative, so we just give them the example, like you are sick, you go to hospital. So they want just to analyze your blood. So they won't take the whole blood in your body. So they take the sample, the derivative of your blood. So they do the test. And once they find out that there's something wrong in the test now, they will say, no, the integral of your blood from the toe to the head. So you got these kind of things and so on. So once you relate stuff in the real world, that brings their attention, and then they can just become excited to study that thing. I think that the approach should be for us to see how to adapt whatever we do, which have impact on the society, but try just to bring it by connecting to the existing just problem in our society and environment. Yes.
Thank you.
I think that can be just.
Thank you, Dr. Mafa. Dr. Tiban, Dr. Tibane, you have your hand up.
Yes, it's challenging, but it's possible. But we need to develop a platform for that first, because what we're doing, we're failing to simplify science. ne? And then we need to partner with, we need a strong partnership between basic education and institution of higher learning. You understand, because we don't know how teachers are teaching the learners. So when they are here, we complicate, like Heisenberg uncertainty principle. It is not easy to take it to high school or primary school. So we don't see each other, whereas we getting learners from high school, but we're not talking. I think we should establish a platform where we can sit together and look how we can simplify or how we can add these concepts to high school or primary school curriculum.
Thank you, Dr. Tibani. Dr. Prozeski, do you maintain your hand?
I'll speak. I'm not, I didn't know my hand was up. Sorry, I'm new to this platform. But to speak to what you mentioned, I think it's important to get it into the public consciousness that science is not something that some people do in some lab. It is a way of thinking, and it's a way of approaching the world that is evidence-based. And being open-minded and skeptical at the same time, but in the right amounts. And then there's a benefit for everybody. You know, when you're hearing a politician speak, or when you have to make decisions about your health or your life or all of those things, you know, even if you don't do pure science, the thinking of science and science as a way of doing things still has a lot of value in everybody's life. And then to the uncertainty, I think often science comes across as being wrong because scientists change their mind all the time. And I think it would be very valuable if people can understand that science changing it's a feature, it's not a bug. And it's not that something was wrong, but it is that things are getting better and it's getting more right. And I think a lot of the problem there is the way science is communicated. We often see these headlines that, you know, coffee cures cancer, now coffee causes cancer. And if people don't understand the scientific process and what was actually shown in those studies, they might get confused and lose faith in science. Instead of seeing it all as little pieces of a puzzle to build a bigger picture in a way that we can understand the world.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, colleagues. Dr. Mule, I see I've kind of usurped your responsibilities. I think we kind of have ideas about how it can be done, and Dr. Tibani is correct in that we have to create the platform in which these things can then be threshed out and then sent to the people. And I can I would say SASTA is very well positioned to actually drive that kind of process. Right. Anyway, that was my abuse of our time. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Matebula and Dr. Mbule.
Okay, thank you so much, Zolile. Thank you. It was a good conversation that we also need to go out there and let the little one know in a simple way. We know how to, to let them know how they can communicate their science or how they can engage with other learners with their science, being in primary school or high school. But it's upon us as professionals to come up with a way how to simplify that for them. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we have if you have other discussions or anything, but we are left with roughly 6 minutes to wrap up this session.
Any further developments?
It looks like there's no hand or any further discussion. Dr. Matebula, you can go ahead with your closing remarks.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you so much for the video, Dr. Mguda. We have learned a lot today about astronomy, and we also now are aware that we have some telescopes in the Northern Cape, and also congratulations on your flagship. The flagship, what I understand is that it's going to increase the capacity of the students at UNISA that are going to enroll for astronomy, and also you mentioned that that this will bring also the addition hands in the form of co-supervision with other national collaborators in the country that are studying astronomy. So with that, I thank you so much, or I congratulate you on the astronomy flagship. And also again, it's not that we have to study astronomy or students study astronomy. And also you have mentioned again the application thereof. So we don't just study to know about astronomy, but we also have to also know or think about where can we apply what we have studied in astronomy. You have mentioned in consultants, data science, and also in banking, to mention the few. That will also gain recruits, if I can put it that way, that we can also when you recruit students to do astronomy, you can also tell them where they can apply this sort of astronomy studies to. And with that, I thank you, colleagues, and thank you so much for Kambuda and everyone who is here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, colleagues, for attending today's presentations. And I would like to also thank everyone who presented and everyone who attended and interacted and shared their ideas about science. Okay, so I think we can officially close the session, and goodbye, colleagues. Have a good day further.
Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you,
Goodbye.
colleagues. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Recording stopped.